As I introduced myself earlier, my name is Marie from Kadena. I got into blockchain development about 3 years ago when Ethereum first came out. I was really excited about the whole sovereign identity and owning your data and attention-based markets. I don't know if anyone's read Jeremy Laney's Who Owns the Future, but having better data provenance to feed back into the community of people who are creating the data. So I got into Ethereum right before the DAO happened, and I invested, just enough to get my toes wet in the DAO. And I woke up one morning and I had invested a couple of friends' money into the DAO, and the weeks that followed it, I don't know who's here is familiar with the DAO attack. Everyone. But it was very emotional, we got really excited about this technology and then woke up one morning to sort of a slice of humble pie that this technology is really, really nascent and experimental. And coming from a enterprise integration background, I was at one of the large systems integrators, not production ready code is just a new concept to me. So I almost left the blockchain industry, but then I got sort of pulled back in. I met the Kadena guys. They were the founding tech leads for JP Morgan's blockchain group, and they were vetting all the technology and realized hey, we can actually just build a better system. So they came out with Juno, which got open source to Hyperledger. And then they left JP Morgan and developed Scalable BFT, which is our private chain. And then about a year and a half ago, Will's background is from the SEC as well. And portion of why we're sticking with proof of work and why he wants to reinvent the efficiency of proof of work is the idea that proof of stake is not probabilistic in nature and therefore might be subject to money transmitter license laws. So we want to just look at what's already working and what's already legal, and build on top of that. So we also, as I mentioned, have a smart contract layer that sits on top of both Chainweb and Scalable BFT. Here's a quick comparison with other private chain and public chains. That it doesn't really make sense if I don't talk about Pact, which is a non-Turing complete smart contract language. We don't believe that blockchain should replace generalized computation, and it shouldn't replace the internet. It should be used for securing transactions that have a monetary derivative of them, right? So we only have functions that are specific to a blockchain. If you're gonna do recursive calls on protein folding or Dijkstra's search algorithm, you're going to run that off chain. There's no world that we have conceived of where we're gonna need to put that on chain. So Pact is very simple. It's meant for non-technical users as well, because as a community, we want to make sure we are being inclusive of not just developers. So it's meant to be like the sequel of blockchains. So we're doing work with Fortune 100 companies, Fortune 500 companies, because we're built in the confines of being really secure for a bank. We are really focused on security for large enterprises. So as I mentioned, we have formal verification baked into our language. It's not you don't have to go in and write all the proofs yourself. It's already baked into the properties, and then we're also going to have formally verified interfaces. So our version of the ERC20 token, you can, if you're a decentralized exchange, you can instantly verify that the coin contract that you're taking in has not been maladapted or hasn't been changed to specify a possible bug. So we're really excited about that. This was one of our clients where we built a private chain for them to manage their patient provider or their service provider, so all the doctors' information. And the idea was it was a private chain, and eventually it's going to be opened up to the public chain, so doctors can actually go in and update their information and get incentivized and paid out for doing that updating. So it's a consortium of a bunch of different insurance companies and like clinical trial companies that are all managing this data that it's a cost center for them. Not one person it's not like a competitive advantage for any one of them. So they've come together to put it all in one consortium chain. So yeah, we are just about to launch testnet. I'm gonna say it here because I heard hard dates are nice for March 26th, and then looking to launch mainnet over the summer. Yeah, a little bit out of date. This is the smart contract language. We also have like on-contract governance for every smart contract. So this makes it super like upgradable, where you're not depending on a smart contract automatically every time a upstream dependency gets changed. The contract downstream has to vote on whether or not it's going to upgrade to the new update. Scalable BFT. And yeah, so this is Chainweb. I'm not the expert in Chainweb, so I'm not going to speak too much about it, but we're looking at 10,000 transactions per second, and we're not trying to be, as I mentioned, in the generalized computation layer. We're looking to be more of like a settlement system, and we're not against proof of stake, and we think it might work in the future, but if we're going to have stuff working today, and we want to go with a technology that's been proven for 10 years in the market, which is Bitcoin. So always open to learning about new proof of stake things that are coming out, but yeah.
Thank you. Marie, most of all, you are a product person.
Yes.
How do you guys decide on the like timeline of testnet and mainnet? What is the urgency? If you have all the time and money in the world, but to set a deadline for yourself and with your clients?
So we actually come from a more traditional like business startup background. We didn't raise all the money in the world, kind of just because we wanted to raise as much money as we needed. So we're holding ourselves to a pretty strict deadline, because we want to start solving the issues of like Ethereum today are reentrancy attacks and smart contract vulnerability, but you can't get people using the smart contract in isolation. So urgency, I think, is kind of as soon as possible, so we can start building a network.
So between testnet and the mainnet, you are talking about 3 to 5 months. Why do you think it's short enough? Why do you think it's long enough for the security? Like, what is your thinking, so that all of us can learn as a startup how to think about deadlines?
Yeah, so we want to give enough time for nodes to work out all the kinks. We have a couple different iterations of testnet. Of like, first it's going to be completely, all the nodes are going to be set up by our company, and then we're going to have a beta testing program where we're going to open it up to the community. We want to look to be, 20% of miners at launch to be Kadena owned, and so we want, I think, 80% to be, I forgot the exact metric, but yeah, it's important that it's a network that is decentralized and upheld by the rest of the community and upheld globally, because one of the properties of a public permissionless network is the supranational quality of it, that it goes beyond state lines. So we've been doing a lot of outreach in South America. We have a use case partner down there. Miguel went down last year. Korea, we're really centering on a little bit Japan, and then we have a lot of our enterprise clients are based out of Europe, so Turkey and Germany and stuff. So.
That's awesome. One more question?
Yeah. So a couple, one question I suppose. So with Kadena, it seems like your enterprise use cases is probably your main target audience. Would that be accurate, or?
Yeah.
So with that, I suppose a couple of questions on that. So when you look at your competitors, like say Hyperledger and Fabric IBM or Intel and stuff, private permission chains versus a public network, your thoughts on that? And then the follow-up question is, for your users, do you find that the transaction speed, the thing, or the developer tools is the main drivers for adoption? So. Yeah,
good questions. So compared to Hyperledger, Corda, good question. So the thing with Hyperledger is it doesn't stand up past 20 nodes, right? So we keep throughput, 8,000 transactions per second across 500 nodes.
Right.
So that's one of the big differentiators. Corda, it's not really a blockchain. It's just
But those guys are looking at private permission chains sort of solid for each sort of use case. Are you guys taking that approach? Are you trying to make all the use cases on the non-public chain?
No, so we think of it more like our private chain is essentially our privacy solution. Okay. So a company is going to have parts of its blockchain dApp on private, and
it's a hybrid.
It's a hybrid.
Similar to shards, where they've got their own private shard or private chain, if you like, which is then like a beacon chain. Okay. Yeah, correct. And the private chain is going to act essentially as an oracle. You can have private chains for oracles, or you can just have a centralized. Makes sense. And then as far as adoption, did you find performance, privacy, or sort of developer toolkits sort of was key for your users?
Yeah, so I actually think it's, I don't know, this might be a bit controversial, but I think the blockchain ecosystem is living in this bubble of throughput is the most important, and all these kind of vanity metrics that the rest of the world doesn't care about. And so we're really focusing on building, as Taylor mentioned, a really simple onboarding process. We're working with a former Udacity instructor to really just onboard as many people from across the business as possible.
That's amazing, thanks. Thank you for coming all the way from New York.
Thanks for having us.